What if I told you there exists a dimension where past, present, and future converge into a single now, accessible only through a spiritual perspective? Discover how the mind of Christ and the fourth dimension can transform your reality, awakening desires and healing your life. Immerse yourself in this journey beyond the tangible and visible, where the impossible becomes possible. Reflecting on the fourth dimension, every human being possesses two authentic perspectives about the universe, and the ancient storytellers were fully aware of these two visions. They called one the carnal mind and the other the mind of Christ. We recognize these two focuses of thought in the statement, "The natural man does not understand the things that are of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, and he cannot understand them, because they are spiritually discerned." Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 14. For the natural mind, reality is limited to an instant called now. In that precise moment, it seems to be the context of the real. As such, everything else is illusory to the natural mind. Both the past and the future are merely imaginary. In other words, the past, when usually natural, is only a memory image of things that were, and for the restricted focus of the carnal mind, the future does not exist. The natural mind does not believe that it could revisit the past and perceive it as something present, something objective and tangible to itself, nor does it believe that the future exists. For the mind of Christ, the spiritual mind, which our language will call a four-dimensional perspective, the past, present, and future of the natural mind are all present. It encompasses the entire range of sensory impressions that the human being has experienced, is experiencing, and will experience. The only reason why you and I are operating as we do today and are not aware of the broader perspective is simply because we are creatures of habit, and habit makes us completely blind to what we should otherwise see. But habit is not law, even though it acts as if it were the most persuasive force in the world. However, it is not law. We can create a new approach to life if you and I were to dedicate a few minutes each day to withdrawing our attention from the realm of sensation and concentrating on the invisible state, and remaining faithful to that contemplation, feeling and perceiving the reality of an unseen state. Over time, we would become aware of this vaster world. In this dimensionally greater universe, the contemplated state is now a concrete reality, displaced in time. Today, as we turn to our Bible, you will be the judge of where you find yourself in your current unfolding. Our first account for today comes from chapter 5 of the Gospel of Mark. In this chapter, 3 stories are narrated as if they were separate experiences of the main characters. And in the first story, it is mentioned that Jesus encountered a madman, a man who dwelt in the cemetery and hid behind the tombs. This man begged Jesus not to cast out the demons that tormented him. But Jesus said to him, "Come out of this man, you unclean spirit." Mark, chapter 5, verse 8. Thus, Jesus cast out the demons, and now we find this man for the first time clothed and in his right mind, and sitting at the feet of the Master. We obtain the psychological sense of this chapter by replacing the name of Jesus with that of enlightened reason or four-dimensional thought. As we progress in this chapter, we are informed that Jesus now meets the high priest, whose name is Jairus, and Jairus, the high priest of the synagogue, has a daughter who is dying. She is 12 years old, and he begs Jesus to come and heal the girl. Jesus agrees, and while he is on his way to the high priest's house, a woman in the crowd touched his garment, and Jesus, instantly perceiving in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned to the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" Mark, chapter 5, verse 30. The woman, who had been healed of a flow of blood that she had suffered for 12 years, confessed that she had touched him, and he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." Mark, chapter 5, verse 34. As he continues on his way to the house, the high priest is informed that the girl has died and that there is no need for Jesus to resurrect her. She is no longer sleeping, but now she is dead. But Jesus, having heard the word that was spoken, said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." Mark, chapter 5, verse 36. And when he entered, he said to them, "Why do you make such a commotion and weep? The girl is not dead, but sleeping." Mark, chapter 5, verse 39. At this, the entire crowd mocked and laughed. But Jesus, shutting the doors against the mocking crowd, took with him into Jairus' house his disciples and the father and mother of the dead girl. They entered the room where the maiden lay, and he took the maiden by the hand and said to her, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." Mark, chapter 5, verse 41. From this deep sleep, she awoke and arose and walked, and the high priest and all the others were amazed, and he commanded that no one should be told, and directed that something should be given her to eat. Mark, chapter 5, verse 43. You are on this very day, while you are sitting here, represented in this chapter 5 of Mark. A cemetery has a purpose. It is simply a record of the dead. You are living in the dead past if you are dwelling among the dead. Your prejudices, your superstitions, and your false beliefs that you keep alive are the tombstones behind which you hide. If you refuse to let them go, you are as insane as the madman in the Bible who begged enlightened reason not to cast out the demons. And there is no difference, but enlightened reason is incapable of protecting prejudice and superstition against the incursions of reason. There is not a human being in this world who, harboring prejudices, regardless of the nature of the prejudice, can hold it up to the light of reason. Tell me that you are against a certain nation, a certain race, a certain doctrine, a certain thing, no matter what it is, you cannot expose that belief to the light of reason and keep it alive. In order for it to be kept alive in your world, you must hide it from reason. You cannot analyze it in the light of reason and keep it alive. When this four-dimensional perspective emerges, it will show a new approach to life, expelling from your own mind all those things that have tormented you. You will then be clean and clothed in your mind, healthy and good, and you will sit at the feet of understanding, called the feet of the Master. Now, clothed and in your right mind, you can resurrect the dead. What died, the girl in the story, is not a girl. The girl is your mission, your unrealized desire and dreams of your heart. This is the girl lodged in the mind of the human being, for, as I have stated before, the entire drama of the Bible is psychological. The Bible has no reference to any person who has existed or to any event that has occurred on earth. All the stories in the Bible unfold in the mind of the individual. In that story, Jesus is the awakened intellect of the human being, and when his mind functions beyond the reach of his current senses, when his mind is healed of all previous limitations, then you are no longer a madman. Rather, you, that presence personified as Jesus, the power that can resurrect the longings of the human heart. You are now the woman with the issue of blood. What is that issue of blood? A bleeding womb is not a productive womb, it is barren for 12 years. She was unable to conceive, she could not give form to her desire due to the flow of blood. You are informed that faith, not fear, closes the womb. As the womb closes, it can give form to the seed, the idea. As your mind is purified of its old concept of you, you assume that you are what you desire to be, and remaining faithful to this assumption, you give form to your desire, you resurrect your child. If you are the woman purified of the flow of blood and you are heading to the house of the dead girl, the state you desired, and now your fixed concept of yourself, but now, having assumed that I am what I previously desired to be, I cannot continue desiring what I am aware of being. So, I do not argue this, I do not talk to anyone about what I am. It is so evident to me that I am what I wanted to be, acting as if I were, walking as if I were what I previously wanted to be. My world of limited focus does not see and thinks that I no longer desire it, the girl is dead in their world. But I know the divine law, the girl is not dead, the maiden is not dead, but asleep. Now I awaken her, through my assumption I make visible in my world that which I assume, for assumptions when held invariably awaken, and I close the door, from door to door, of my senses simply by completely excluding everything that my senses reveal, denying the evidence of my senses, suspending the limited reason of the natural man and walking in the affirmation that I am what my senses reject, with the door of my senses closed. What leads to this disciplined state? I do not take anyone registered except the parents of the infant and my disciples. I close the door against the mocking and laughing crowd. I do not seek further confirmation. I totally deny the evidence of my senses that mock me in their stance, and I do not argue with others whether my assumption is possible or not. Who are the parents? And we discover that the father and mother of all creation is the I am of the human being, the consciousness of the individual is God. I am aware of being, I am father and mother of all my ideas, and my mind remains faithful to this new concept of me. My mind is disciplined. I place the disciples in this state. I exclude from this state everything that could deny it. Now the infant, without the help of a man, is resurrected to the condition that desired it. And assuming that I had becomes objectified within my world, and I am witness to the power of my assumption. You are the judge. I cannot judge you. Are you now living in the dead past, or are you living with a woman whose flow of blood has been stopped? You could really answer me if you asked yourself the question, if you now believe that you, without the help of another, need only assume that you are what you want to be to make that your position real in your world, or do you believe that you must first fulfill a certain condition imposed by the past, that you must belong to a certain order or something similar? I am not criticizing certain churches or groups, but those who believe that someone outside their church or group is not yet saved. If you are Protestant, you speak with the Protestant. Only a Christian, a Protestant, speaks with the Catholic, because there is nothing in the world that is Christian besides Catholic, and you speak with the Jew, and Christians are pagans and Jews are the chosen ones. You speak with the Muslim. Jews and Christians are the infidels. You speak with another person, and all those are the untouchables. No matter who you talk to, they are always the chosen ones. If you believe that you must be one of those to be saved, you are still a madman hiding behind those superstitions and those prejudices of the past, and you are begging not to be purified. Some of you tell me, don't ask me to give up my belief in Jesus, a man, him, and Moses, the man, or in Peter. When you ask me to give up my child and these characters, you are asking too much. And leave me these children because they comfort me. I can believe that they lived on earth and still follow their psychological interpretation of their stories, and the divine come out of the dead past, come out of that cemetery and walk knowing that you and your Father are one, and your Father that men call God is your own consciousness. That is the only creative law of the world of what you are aware of being, even if you cannot see if the objective with the limited focus of your three-dimensional mind. Now you are what you assume to be, walk in that your position and remain faithful to it. Time in this dimension of your being beats slowly, and it is possible that you do not objectify your position. Remember that there was a time when this present reality was only an attitude of the mind. It is by the slowness of the beat of time here that you often fail to see the relationship between your inner nature and the outer world that testifies to it. You are a judge of the position you now occupy. In this chapter 5 of Mark, you are resurrecting the dead child. You still need to have that womb of your mind closed. It is still running and therefore cannot be fertile. You now the insane man who lives in the dead past, only you can be the judge and answer these questions. Now we turn to a story in chapter 5 of the Gospel of John, which will show how the ancient storytellers spoke wonderfully of the two distinct visions of this world, one the limited three-dimensional focus and the other the four-dimensional perspective. This account speaks of an impotent man who is quickly healed. Jesus comes to a place called Bethesda, which by definition means the house of the 5 porches. In these 5 porches lie countless invalids, blind, lame, withered, and others. Tradition said that at certain seasons of the year an angel descended and stirred the pool that was near those 5 porches. As the angel disturbed the pool, the first to enter was always healed, but only the first, not the second. Jesus, seeing a man who had been ill from his mother's womb, said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" John chapter 5 verse 6. The impotent man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am going, another steps down before me." John chapter 5 verse 7. Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed, and walk." John chapter 5 verse 8. Immediately the man was healed, and he took up his bed and walked, and that very day was the Sabbath. John chapter 5 verse 9. You read this story and think that some strange man who possessed miraculous power suddenly told the lame man to rise up and walk. I cannot repeat many times that the story, even when it presents innumerable individualities, occurs within the mind of the individual human being. The pool is your consciousness. An angel is an idea called a messenger of God, consciousness being God. When you have an idea, you are entertaining an angel. The very instant you are aware of a desire, your pool was disturbed. Wanting something is to be disturbed. The exact moment you have a mission, a clearly defined goal, the pool was stirred by the angel that was the desire. I inform you that the first to enter the disturbed pool is always healed. My closest companions in this world, my wife and my little daughter, are for me, when I address them, in second place. I must speak to my wife, "How are you?" I must speak to anyone, no matter how close they are, "How are you?" And after that, the third person. He is only one person in this world with whom I can use the first person present, and that person is me. I am can only be said of myself, it cannot be said of another. Therefore, when I am aware of some desire that I want to be but apparently am not, the pool being disturbed, who can enter that pool before me? Only I possess the power of the first person, and I am what I want to be, except that I believe that I am what I want to be, I remain as I was and die in that feeding. In this story, you do not need any man to put you into the pool, for your consciousness is disturbed by desire. All you need to do is assume that you are already what you wanted to be and you are in it, and no man can enter before you. What man can enter before you when you become conscious of being what you want to be? No one can be ahead of you when only you possess the power to say "I am." Those are the two perspectives. Now, are you what your senses would deny? Are you bold enough to assume that you are already what your reason and your senses now reject? Then you are in the pool, and without the help of a man, you too will rise, take up your bed, and walk. I inform you of what happened on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is only the mystical sense of stillness, when you are not worried, when you are not anxious, when you are not seeking results, knowing that signs follow and do not precede. The Sabbath is the day of stillness in which there is no work, and when you are not working to make it happen, you are in the Sabbath. When you are not at all concerned about the opinion of others, when you walk as if you were, you cannot lift a finger to make it happen, you are in the Sabbath. In this profound story, we are presented with a powerful metaphor for the transformative potential of consciousness. The pool at Bethesda represents the human mind, the very seat of our awareness. The 5 porches surrounding the pool symbolize our 5 senses, the limited, 3-dimensional perspective through which we typically perceive the world. The countless invalids, blind, lame, and withered lying in these porches represent the limiting beliefs, fears, and doubts that plague our consciousness, rendering us impotent and unable to manifest our desires. We are told that at certain seasons, an angel would descend and stir the waters, and whoever stepped in first would be healed. This angel is none other than the messenger of God, a new idea or desire that arises in our consciousness. The very instant we become aware of a desire, our pool is disturbed. The waters of our mind are agitated by the angel of our wanting. But here is the key, only the first one to enter the pool is healed. And who is the first? It is always the I am, the first person present tense. No one can enter the pool of your consciousness before you, for only you possess the power to declare I am. This is the great secret of manifestation. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, when you dare to claim I am in the face of your current circumstances, you are stepping into the disturbed waters of your consciousness. You are boldly declaring that you are already what your senses would deny. I cannot worry about how it will be and still say that I am conscious of being it. If I am conscious of being free, secure, healthy, and happy, I maintain those states of consciousness without effort or work on my part, therefore, I am in the Sabbath. And because it was the Sabbath, he rose and walked. Thank you for having us with you. Thank you for watching.